Chapter 188. Her only remaining snow-white underwear was also torn apart by him, revealing Yu Aoqing's naked body. While she was crying and begging for mercy, Yang Kai pulled at his clothes and quickly got up, his throat emitting a low roar. The Red Cloud sect's proud daughter of heaven was powerless to resist, slowly closing her eyes, no longer crying, no longer begging for mercy, letting the tears fall from her eyes. Perhaps what Miao Lin said before was right. She was about to die, what was there to protect? Although this boy now looked violent and evil, compared to that scum Miao Lin, at least he was much better. A sharp pain came from her chest, it was from being pinched. Yu Aoqing could not help but cry out miserably. Just when she thought she was doomed to lose her innocence, and was about to be defiled, the boy riding on her suddenly stopped. Yu Aoqing opened her eyes slightly, only to see that he was still staring at her with those red eyes. Those eyes were also filled with lust, greed, and possessiveness, but from time to time, there seemed to be a trace of struggle and resistance flashing across them. The hot air from his nostrils was enough to melt gold and break iron. His eyebrows were tightly knit, and his face was filled with pain, as if he was enduring something. Suddenly, this boy's body erupted with a palpitating energy, making him look more and more evil. Following the eruption of this energy, his strength actually increased at an unimaginable speed. Qi transformation level 4, level 5. Level 8, level 9. Separation and reunion boundary yuan qi fluctuations. Until he broke through to separation and reunion boundary second stage, it slowly stabilized. With the improvement of his strength, the madness in his eyes became more and more intense, but that kind of struggle and resistance also became more and more violent. Suddenly, he climbed down from her, sitting cross-legged on the ground, gritting his teeth and growling, "Stay away from me. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences." Yu Aoqing, who thought she was doomed, was stunned. As if she had been granted amnesty, she struggled to pick up a piece of clothing with her broken arm, covering her white and flawless body. Bending her good leg, she slowly moved to the edge of the corner, staring at Yang Kai in horror, her tender body trembling. Yang Kai was very sober. From beginning to end, his consciousness was clear, including when he pounced on Yu Aoqing, including tearing off her clothes and ravaging her body. However, this kind of instinctive impulse had reached its peak under the stimulation of Miao Lin and Luo Qianxian. It was impossible to control it. While enjoying the release of the desire buried deep in his bones, Yang Kai was also resisting its influence on him. In the end, he had no choice but to use the unyielding will to suppress it. It wasn't until this moment that Yang Kai finally understood what Su Yan meant when she said this kind of desire was hard to resist. If the woman he was alone with wasn't Yu Aoqing, if Su Yan was nearby, even if he had to climb a mountain of swords or dive into a sea of fire, Yang Kai would have gone to find her. The blood and qi in his chest roiled fiercely. Every piece of flesh and every cell in his body was calling out, yearning for a woman's soft and fragrant comfort. The yuan qi was restless and violent, rolling up the entire cave, whimpering and whistling, disturbing the big insects that were probing around to investigate. On his upper body, his skin was blood red, looking very frightening. However, not too far away from him, there was a completely naked beauty who had no strength to resist. As long as he was willing, he could take her for himself at any time and taste the wonderful taste of pleasure. For the current Kai Yang, this was undoubtedly another kind of test. Trying not to think about her, even Su Yan's figure was forcibly erased from his mind by Yang Kai. Yang Kai immersed himself in his own body, constantly circulating his true Yang's secret art, endlessly feeling the mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton to distract himself. Last time, he had comprehended the unyielding will from the unyielding golden skeleton, but Yang Kai knew that there were still some things hidden in his golden skeleton. His strength was not enough, and his perception was not enough, so he could not comprehend them for the time being. Taking advantage of today's opportunity, Yang Kai once again deeply felt the unyielding golden skeleton. He did not seek to comprehend the mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton, only to stabilize his irritable desire. The effect was not bad. Although the situation was not alleviated, at least it had stabilized. Yu Aoqing was also tactful, knowing that Yang Kai must be desperately resisting her, so naturally she did not dare to make any noise, lest she attract Yang Kai's attention. She just curled up in the cave, motionless. As time passed, Yang Kai's situation gradually improved, his irritable mood slowly calming down, and his surging yuan qi also showed signs of being restrained. After an unknown amount of time, when Yang Kai's violent aura disappeared, the cave once again returned to calm. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai opened his eyes, and the temporary increase in strength from the unyielding will also slowly disappeared, and his realm fell. Separation and reunion first stage. Qi transformation 9th stage, 8th stage. 5th stage. He had stabilized. This time, he had successfully resisted the desire in his heart, and his strength had actually increased by a stage. Although this was an unexpected gain, Yang Kai's expression was as calm as an ancient well. He frowned slightly, sitting there motionless, lost in thought. This time, while comprehending the mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton, although he hadn't gained anything, it wasn't like he hadn't made any progress. Somehow, Kai Yang felt like there was a layer of shackles blocking his path. As long as he could break through the shackles, the other mysteries of the unyielding golden skeleton would appear. Unfortunately, his current strength and understanding of the martial Tao were still too weak, not enough to break the shackles. He could only wait for another opportunity to comprehend it. Letting out a long breath, Yang Kai turned his head and looked around, glancing at Yu Aoqing who was staring at him in the corner. In her beautiful eyes, there was panic, but also a trace of resentment and resentment. Any woman who encountered such a situation would not be able to remain calm. Yang Kai stood up and walked towards her step by step. "Don't come here!" Yu Aoqing shouted fiercely, her body trying to retreat, but behind her was the cave wall. Where could she retreat to? Yang Kai's mouth curled into an inexplicable smile, slowly squatting down in front of her. "Get out of my way!" Yu Aoqing's hands were unable to move, but she steeled her heart and slammed her head into Yang Kai. Yang Kai did not move, letting her head hit his forehead. With a loud thud, Yu Aoqing was on the verge of collapsing, her bright forehead suddenly turning red. Yang Kai reached out a hand, grabbed her dislocated arm, pulled it down and pushed it up. Accompanied by a crisp crack, Yu Aoqing screamed. The pain made her sweat for a moment, instinctively swinging her palm towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai countered with a palm, defusing her attack, coldly saying, "If you want to die, I can kill you now." The cold tone, the cold look in his eyes, made Yu Aoqing stunned on the spot. Only then did she realize that her dislocated arm had been fixed. Ignoring her murderous gaze, Yang Kai reached out and rubbed her thigh, circulating his yuan qi to resolve the internal injury there. A warm feeling came, making Yu Aoqing somewhat unbearable. After dealing with her injured arm and thigh, Yang Kai slowly got up and sat to the side. Yu Aoqing looked at him incredulously. She could not believe that this young man would treat her so kindly. Not long ago, he used a kind of overbearing method to destroy her body in an attempt to possess her. She had no friendship with him at all, and even had a grudge against him. Why would he do this? Unable to understand, Yu Aoqing clenched her teeth, secretly observing Yang Kai while putting on her clothes. Hearing this movement, Yang Kai naturally knew what she was doing without opening his eyes. He knew that there must be endless scenery, causing people to daydream, but unexpectedly, he did not have much of a reaction. Thinking about it carefully, perhaps it was the accumulation of these past few months, all of which had been resolved during the resistance, so he could be so calm. This was a good way to cultivate one's mind, accumulate for a period of time, then find a way to resist. Once the resistance was successful, whether it was strength or state of mind, both could be improved. Inadvertently, Yang Kai found a suitable cultivation path for himself. The cave was quiet again. Yang Kai and Yu Aoqing sat at opposite ends of the cave, one waiting patiently, the other frightened. No one spoke. About a day later, there was a sudden movement outside. It was the big insects coming to catch them again. Yang Kai's expression shook, opening his eyes, but Yu Aoqing was terrified, afraid that she would follow in the footsteps of her junior brother and junior sister. Just as she was worried, she saw Yang Kai stand up on his own and walk out. He wasn't trying to save Yu Aoqing out of kindness. This woman's heart was vicious. She was definitely not a good person. Not to mention that Kai Yang hadn't done anything to her before. Even if they had a physical relationship, Kai Yang wouldn't have let her live. Before, when he connected her arm, it was also to return a favor. After all, this breakthrough was also thanks to her. Letting her go, the two of them were even. No one owed the other. Yang Kai now took the initiative to come out. His main purpose was to find the Insect King. If he wanted to leave this damned place, he had to find the Insect King. Combined with what he had seen in the past few days and his own experience, Yang Kai was sure that these insects had captured them for the Insect King to enjoy. Perhaps seeing Yang Kai so tactful, the big insects were not as cruel as they had been to Miao Lin and Luo Qianqian, but one of them led the way, while the others pushed and bumped Yang Kai from behind, urging him to move faster. Yu Aoqing stared at all of this in a daze, the corners of her mouth curling into a happy smile, but soon she began to cry again. She naturally wished for Yang Kai to die, but if Yang Kai really did die, she would be the only one left at this moment. Compared to that, she would rather Yang Kai live. After many twists and turns in the wormhole, Yang Kai did not know how long he had walked before he came to a huge cave. The big insects drove Yang Kai into the cave and did not follow. Old demon! Yang Kai vigilantly looked around while calling out in his mind. But the old demon, who was always on call, did not respond this time. Yang Kai was stunned, thinking that something had happened to him, so he hurriedly checked, and could not help but laugh. He didn't know when this old devil had sealed off his divine sense. "What are you doing?" Yang Kai unsealed him and asked. "Young master, are you done?" The old demon smiled. "What do you mean?" Yang Kai frowned. Chapter 189. Didn't you and that woman called you Aoqing hee? The old demon smiled wretchedly. Young master has said before that if you were alone with any woman, this old slave would have to seal his divine sense. This old slave will remember that. This really had been said before. Yang Kai nodded slightly, but did not explain, instead saying, "I'm afraid I'll have to see that Insect King soon. I'm going to try to subdue it. You stay by my side." Hearing that Yang Kai was going to do something serious, the old demon also quickly became serious. This old slave obeys. Yang Kai looked around and found that the cave was very spacious. Only an unpleasant stench was spreading in the cave. After searching for a long time, Yang Kai still could not find the Insect King. Instead, he found a lot of bones and corpses in the cave. Zhang Yu, Miao Lin, and Luo Qianqian of the Red Cloud sect were all here. These three people seemed to have suffered great pain when they were alive. Their eyes were wide open, and their flesh and blood were shriveled up like dead wood, looking very frightening. Zhang Yu was the first to die, and was the most severely shriveled. Miao Lin was not much better than her. Only Luo Qianqian seemed to have some moisture in her flesh and blood, but only a little. "Young master, this Insect King seems to have sucked their flesh and blood dry," the old demon said in a deep voice. Yang Kai nodded slightly, squatting down in front of Luo Qianqian's body. This Red Cloud sect disciple was having sex with Miao Lin when she was captured by the big insect, and at this moment she was still naked. The originally beautiful young girl's face was now terrible. It really made people sigh. Where was the Insect King? Just as Yang Kai was vigilant and suspicious, Luo Qianqian's body seemed to move slightly, and then a golden light suddenly rushed out from her arm, directly attacking Yang Kai. "Young master, be careful." Yang Kai was vigilant. Although it happened suddenly, he was not flustered. Circulating his true Yang Yuan Qi, his footwork unfolded, and his figure flashed, appearing more than a dozen feet away. But before he could stand firm, he found that the golden light had actually arrived in front of him. So fast. Yang Kai's expression changed, and he flashed out again. Just like before, the golden light flew over again. Yang Kai heard a slight buzzing sound. In the golden light, he vaguely saw a figure that looked similar to those strange insects, but it was countless times smaller. This was the Bug King? Yang Kai originally thought that the Bug King would be a big guy, but he didn't expect it to be so small. However, the speed at which it flew was amazing. As the Bug King, it was definitely more ferocious and difficult to deal with than those strange insects. Not daring to be slow, Yang Kai used his footwork to circle around the insect king in the cave, waiting for an opportunity to attack. After 15 consecutive flashes, the insect king exhausted all of its yuan qi, but the distance between it and Yang Kai did not widen. Instead, it got closer. There was no way to avoid it anymore. Standing firm, Yang Kai's expression became dignified as he punched out towards the golden light. The true Yang Yuan Qi fiercely erupted. A shocking thing happened. This punch did not send the Bug King flying. Instead, Yang Kai felt a pain in his fist, and the golden light disappeared without a trace. Hurriedly withdrawing his fist, Yang Kai looked aghast. He found that there was a small bloody hole in his fist, and under his skin, there was a bulge that drilled into the back of his hand and disappeared in the blink of an eye. What kind of insect is this? Yang Kai was scared out of his wits. He wanted to run over and subdue the Bug King, but he didn't expect to suffer such a big loss. It actually drilled into his body. He quickly sat down cross-legged, carefully feeling his body, but there was nothing unusual. It was as if the bug drilled into his body and suddenly disappeared. "Young master, do you feel anything wrong?" the old demon asked in alarm. No. Yang Kai was also puzzled. Looking at the state of the Red Cloud people, the Bug King must have drilled into their bodies and sucked their flesh, but why was nothing happening to him? No, look carefully again. This old servant suddenly remembered an ancient insect that is somewhat similar to this thing. Yang Kai naturally knew that something was wrong. He quickly immersed his mind and investigated the arm that the Bug King drilled into. After a long time, he finally found some traces. This Bug King, at this moment, drilled into the star space on the back of his hand. This star space was opened by practicing the star mark martial skill. Usually, this space accumulates yuan qi, waiting for a time to erupt. According to the words of the old demon, this martial skill was a one-time deal. Once it was used, it was either you die or I die. Last time in the Heaven's Cave inheritance, Yang Kai also relied on the star mark to severely injure the turtle-shaped monster beast. This strange Bug King could actually drill into this space. Moreover, Yang Kai clearly felt that the huge amount of yuan qi he had accumulated in the star space over the past few months was being crazily devoured. In just a moment, a quarter of the yuan qi was gone. Once it drilled in, Yang Kai had no way to get it out, unless he cut off his hand. When he told this to the old demon suddenly became anxious. Bad. If it drains all the yuan qi, it will suck young master's flesh and blood. At that time, young master will definitely die, and if you die, this old servant will also be buried with you. What should we do? Yang Kai frowned, his mind turning rapidly, thinking of countermeasures. He never thought that this Bug King would be so strange that it could even devour the yuan qi. A moment later, the yuan qi in the star space decreased by a lot, and it was about to reach the bottom. The pitiful Yang Kai's star mark had been accumulating power for several months, but before it could even be used, the Insect King had taken drastic measures against it. In order to prevent the Bug King from having any ideas about his flesh and blood after devouring the yuan qi, Yang Kai hurriedly operated the true Yang tactics and poured the true Yang yuan qi in his meridians into the star space. The Bug King became more and more excited as it devoured. Although this method could not cure the root of the problem, it could at least buy some time. Yang Kai and the old demon quickly thought of countermeasures. After a long time, Yang Kai suddenly asked, "Old demon, can you enter the star space?" The old demon was stunned. "Old servant has not tried, but even if old servant can enter, I am not the Bug King's opponent. Its speed is too fast, and maybe it can even devour divine souls." If that was the case, then the old demon was simply throwing himself into a trap. "Try and see if you can enter," Yang Kai urged. "Do you really want to go in?" The old demon was uneasy. "Don't talk nonsense." The old demon was helpless, but at this moment, Yang Kai was also in danger, so he could not escape. Bracing himself, he wrapped the soul breaker all around himself and came to the back of Yang Kai's hand, muttering a few words in fear, then rushed into the star space. A moment later, the old demon fled in panic. It can really devour divine souls. Old servant is terrified. Just now, if he had not run fast enough, if the Bug King had not been devouring Yang Kai's Yuan Qi, he would not have been able to escape. If you can go in, then it will be easy. Yang Kai smiled. Young master, you have a countermeasure? The old demon heard him say so and was overjoyed. I'm not 100% sure, I'm just giving it a try. Yang Kai said, directly using the unyielding will to frantically extract the unyielding golden skeleton's energy. At the same time, the Dantian's yang liquid was constantly exploding, turning into a huge amount of energy and continuously pouring into the star space. Yang Kai's body could be said to have 3 energy warehouses. One was the star space on the back of his hand. This was the Star Mark's exclusive warehouse, so it stored the least amount of energy. The second was the Dantian's yang liquid. This was the foundation of Yang Kai's fighting strength. The power of all his martial skills and moves depended on the Dantian's yang liquid. The third, and also the largest warehouse, was the unyielding golden skeleton. The unyielding golden skeleton could accept any kind of energy. Yang Kai's pills, spirit grass, spirit fruit, spirit cultivation, as long as it was not of the yang attribute, it could all be stored here. Therefore, in terms of storage capacity, the unyielding golden skeleton's energy was many times greater than the total amount of yang liquid in the Dantian. At this moment, the Yuan Qi fluctuations emerging from Yang Kai's body could be said to be extremely terrifying. With the influx of energy, the Bug King in the star space also began to devour it, becoming more and more intoxicated. Young master, the old demon was stunned. Are you trying to stuff it to death? It's best if it can, but if it can't, then you'll have to go in and fight. Yang Kai's answer was concise and comprehensive, and then he poured his energy into the star space. As time passed, the Bug King that had drilled into the star space was gradually at a loss. It was somewhat intelligent, otherwise it would not have been able to command its subordinates to surround and capture prey. In the past, when it caught prey, it would first devour the various kinds of energy in the prey's body, and after swallowing the energy, it would then consume the flesh and blood of the prey. But this time, it found that something was wrong. The energy in the body of this new prey was actually endless, without the slightest sign of exhaustion. Although it was very happy at first and ate until it was full, its body soon began to swell. It could not eat anymore, but the energy still continued to pour into its body, causing it to become restless, rushing left and right in the star space. However, it was easy to get in, but how could it be so easy to get out? Yang Kai had fought with it before and knew that it was extremely fast. Once it regained its freedom, it would be very difficult to capture, so naturally it was impossible to let it leave. The constant influx of energy was equivalent to sealing the exit, making it impossible for it to escape. Yang Kai's true yang secret art was pushed to the limit. More than half of the yang liquid in the Dantian had burst open and poured into the star space, where it was completely swallowed by the Bug King. On the back of his hand, there seemed to be a buzzing sound as the Bug King tried to escape. With a fierce grin on his face, Yang Kai once again burst open a few drops of yang liquid, along with the energy extracted from the unyielding golden skeleton, and sent them all into the star space. As the yang liquid continued to explode, Kai Yang's flesh and blood had already turned red. His whole body was steaming hot, as if he was being roasted under the scorching sun. His skin was also oozing with blood. Old demon! Yang Kai felt that it was about time and called out in his mind. Seeing Yang Kai so determined, the old demon's heart became somewhat ruthless, and without hesitation he drilled into the star space with the soul breaker all. Chapter 190. Yang Kai could feel that the old demon and the insect king were fighting fiercely in the star space on the back of his hand. Although the old demon wasn't the insect king's match at first, the insect king couldn't digest the energy it had swallowed. Its body became bloated and its speed was greatly reduced. The old demon was actually evenly matched with it. As time passed, the insect king swallowed more and more energy, and the old demon gradually turned the situation around and gained the upper hand. The Soul Breaker all displayed its power and forced the Insect King to retreat, leaving wounds everywhere. The back of his hand was burning hot. After withstanding so much energy, Yang Kai himself was also injured. Looking down, the originally hidden star space was now blooming with light. As usual, the endless star field appeared before his eyes. In the star field, Yang Kai seemed to be able to see two figures, one black and one gold, crisscrossing each other. A burnt smell came out. It was because he had poured in too much true Yang Yuan Qi and burned his hand. Yang Kai gritted his teeth and continued to pour in true Yang Yuan Qi. The huge amount of Yuan Qi not only overwhelmed the Insect King, but also affected the old demon. The old demon's divine soul and the Soul Breaker all were evil things. True Yang Yuan Qi was their nemesis. If it hadn't recognized Yang Kai as its master, the old demon wouldn't have been able to hide the Soul Breaker all in his body. Normally, it wouldn't be a problem, but now, the old demon faintly felt as if he was about to be melted by the extremely hot and Yang Yuan Qi. The old demon's heart was filled with uneasiness. It anxiously conveyed its thoughts to Yang Kai, but it still didn't get a response from Yang Kai. As if it had waited for thousands of years, the old demon vaguely heard Yang Kai's call. "Come out!" The old demon almost burst into tears. Just now, he even thought that Yang Kai was ruthless enough to destroy him and the Insect King, so he didn't give him any response. Now that he heard the young master's call, he was moved to the point of dying for his friend. Not daring to linger, Yang Kai opened a gap in the star space. The old demon instantly fled. The Insect King also wanted to run out, but the gap opened and closed. He didn't give it a chance at all. "Star Mark!" Yang Kai bellowed as he slowly raised his right fist. The pattern of the endless star field hovered around him, rendering this gloomy cave into a starry sky. With a loud bang, the entire insect cave seemed to tremble a few times. Yang Kai even spat out a mouthful of blood. There were no traces of Star Mark in the surroundings, so the old demon saw everything that had happened. He was shocked and couldn't help but exclaim, "Young master!" "I'm fine." Yang Kai spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, his face pale as he panted heavily. He lowered his head and looked at his right hand. On the back of his right hand, it was a bloody mess, and even the veins and white bones could be faintly seen. After carefully inspecting it, Yang Kai suddenly smiled. The Insect King was already dead, and there was no longer any aura in its body. First, it had been fed so much energy by him. Then it was heavily injured by the old demon, and then it took a Star Mark. It was a miracle that it could survive. The old demon's heart trembled, and after a while, he sincerely said, "Young master, this old servant admires you." He couldn't help but admire Yang Kai's Star Mark. He didn't attack the target, but instead directly detonated it on the back of his hand. If there was even the slightest mistake, Yang Kai would have died without a doubt. Fortunately, Yang Kai controlled it very well. Most of the damage from this move was added to the Insect King's body, and he only suffered a little bit. To be so ruthless to himself, this wasn't something a normal person could do. The old demon sincerely admired Yang Kai. "Be vigilant of your surroundings, I may need to recover for a few days." Yang Kai tore open his clothes and wrapped his injured right hand. After hurriedly warning him, he closed his eyes. The power of the Star Mark was enormous. In the past, Yang Kai was able to beat a rank 6 monster beast to the ground with a single punch. Now, even though he only suffered a little bit, it wasn't something a Qi transforming stage 5 cultivator could deal with. His right hand was in severe pain, his Yuan Qi was in chaos, and his internal organs were somewhat displaced from the shock. The only thing that made Yang Kai feel gratified was that although the back of his hand was bloody, the star space still existed, so he didn't have to worry about not being able to use the Star Mark in the future. It took a lot of effort for Yang Kai to get his Yuan Qi in order. He constantly operated the True Yang secret art, controlling the True Yang Yuan Qi in his body to warm the injured area and remove the blood clots in his body. After 2 days, Yang Kai slowly opened his eyes and asked, "Those insects didn't come in, right?" This was the problem he was most worried about. He didn't need to worry too much about those small insects, as they were low level, but there were a lot of them, but those large insects were clearly not low-level monster beast. Any one of them was not much worse than the Red Cloud sect disciples. No. The old demon replied, those insects didn't dare to come in here. This is the insect king's residence. That's good. Yang Kai breathed a sigh of relief, and couldn't help but feel that his injuries were healing much faster than before. He untied the cloth wrapped around his right hand. Although the back of his hand was still bloody, it was clearly healing quickly, and the white bones and veins could no longer be seen. The old demon seemed to know Yang Kai's doubts and said, last time, young master refined a few drops of blood-congealing beads on the right peninsula of Red Cloud sect, and his blood and qi greatly increased. Naturally, his recovery is faster than before, and with more blood and qi, his vitality is more vigorous. So that's how it is. Yang Kai secretly nodded. Young master, although the insect king is dead, did you feel that it left you something? The old demon asked a question that made Yang Kai puzzled. What is it? This old servant doesn't know, please examine it carefully. Listening to his serious tone, Yang Kai also frowned and immersed himself in searching his body. After a long time, he really did find that there was something wrong with his body. There was an unusual energy settling in the dantian, but this was not the true Yang Yuan Qi that he cultivated, nor was it absorbed by the unyielding golden skeleton. Staying in the dantian, if not for the old demon's reminder, Yang Kai wouldn't have discovered it. What's going on? The insect king's residual energy? Yang Kai was suspicious. Hearing him say this, the old demon couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Sure enough. What do you know? Tell me in detail. Young master, do you remember this old servant saying that this thing is similar to an ancient insect that I know of? Yang Kai nodded. At first, this old servant was only suspicious, but not sure. After all, I have never seen this kind of thing with my own eyes, only heard about it. Later, when I fought with it, I was 50% to 60% sure. Now that the young master feels something different, I can be sure that it really is that ancient insect. What kind of insect? The heaven-devouring great emperor insect. After the old demon said the name, he quickly congratulated, Congratulations, young master, you will soon obtain another treasure. The young master's good fortune is profound. This old servant is envious. Speak clearly. Yang Kai sat up straight, ready to listen to the old demon talk about some unknown secret. These ancient mutated insects eat anything, and they especially like to devour all kinds of energy and flesh. Moreover, every heaven-devouring great emperor insect has a kind of opportunity. If someone can refine it, they can obtain great benefits. This opportunity can be a supreme skill, it can be a kind of top martial skill, it can be a powerful secret treasure, it can be a lot more likely to increase one's strength without any side effects. There are thousands of changes, it is unknown, it all depends on one's luck. How can an insect have these things in its body? I can understand that it can increase one's strength, but it is too strange for it to have a supreme skill or martial skill, isn't it? Yang Kai was surprised. Young master, you may not know, but this heaven-devouring great emperor insect is very rare. It contains the heavenly way. It has so many wonders that even this old servant is inferior to it. Moreover, there are many supreme skills and martial skills in this world. They are born by the heavens and earth, existing in the world. They are discovered by the fated people, so it is not surprising that these things appear in the body of an insect, not to mention that it is the famous heaven-devouring great emperor insect. The old demon's tone was full of envy, but after seeing that Yang Kai did not respond for a long time, he said in amazement, Young master, you don't believe it? I don't know, but since it can be refined, we will know whether it is really so magical after refining. Yang Kai did not say whether he believed it or not. What he heard was false, but seeing was believing. What's more, old demon had only heard about these heaven-devouring insects from hearsay, so he didn't know the truth. Closing his eyes again, Yang Kai used his mind to communicate with the strange energy that settled in the dantian, and used the true Yang secret art to burn it with the hot true Yang Yuan Qi. 1 cycle, 2 cycles. Day after day, the energy slowly changed. In the beginning, it was incompatible with Yang Kai. After all, it was something left behind by the insect king, not something that belonged to Yang Kai himself. But as it was burned, it gradually became infected with Yang Kai's aura, and finally, one day, it suddenly split into two and uncontrollably entered Yang Kai's body. At the same time, Yang Kai felt a sharp pain coming from both sides of his shoulder blades, as if he had been branded with iron. The pain came quickly and left quickly, and before Yang Kai could react, it had already disappeared. Carefully checking his own strength, he found that he was still at Qi Transformation Stage 5. The old demon, this big liar. Yang Kai was angry. Although he did not believe what the old demon said before, he still faintly hoped that his strength would increase. But even after refining that thing, his strength did not increase at all, not to mention a supreme secret art, a peerless martial skill, and not even the shadow of an artifact. Opening his eyes with an ashen face, the old demon impatiently asked, "Young master, did you gain anything?" "Gain my ass, that thing has already been refined." Yang Kai unhappily replied. The old demon was shocked. "Impossible, this is the legendary heaven-devouring great emperor's heavenly energy left behind. Legends are all lies." Yang Kai said sincerely. No, young master does not know, but this old servant remembers that there was an enemy who, because he refined the heaven-devouring great emperor's insect, obtained a supreme secret art, and became famous. This is not a legend, this is a real thing. This old servant swears with his life, with his soul. The old demon almost swore. Chapter 191. Generally speaking, if the old demon dared to guarantee something with his divine soul, he was 90% sure of it. Hearing him say this, Yang Kai couldn't help but have a serious expression. If that really was the so-called heavenly energy, then he definitely wouldn't have come out empty-handed. Recalling everything that had just happened, Yang Kai focused his attention on the shoulder blades on both sides of his back. When the strange energy was refined, he felt a burning sensation in his shoulder blades. Other than that, there was no other abnormality. When he focused his attention there, Yang Kai clearly felt his yuan qi rush to his shoulder blades, and an inexplicable feeling of being bound appeared in his heart. When this feeling came, he couldn't help but increase the output of his yuan qi. Suddenly, the binding was broken. My God! The old demon groaned. If he had a physical body, he would be in a state of shock right now. This old demon had lived for who knows how many years. Although he had been sealed all this time and had only recently come out, he was very knowledgeable. There was very little in the world that could make him lose his composure. But now, he had lost his composure. Yang Kai was also stunned. He never thought that such a bizarre thing would happen. On his back, there were two wings made purely of true yang yuan qi. The wings weren't big, only about 5 feet long. The true yang yuan qi that was made of them seemed to be quite unstable. It swayed and shook according to the ups and downs of Yang Kai's mood. Looking sideways, Yang Kai's eyes trembled. This pair of wings that grew out of his shoulder blades had a grand design that revealed a sense of elegance. Especially the color of the true yang yuan qi, it was like a raging flame, giving people a wild and unrestrained feeling. Yang Kai and the old demon didn't speak. It was as if they had lost the ability to speak. All of their minds were focused on the wings. After a long time, Yang Kai suddenly came back to his senses. He frowned and said, "Old demon, what is this?" The old demon swallowed his saliva and said, "The power of flight." Secret treasure? No. This is much more valuable than a secret treasure. This is an ability bestowed upon young master by the heavenly energy. This old servant does not understand the mysteries behind it. Only young master can figure it out yourself in the future. Yang Kai nodded slightly, and with a thought, the two yang inflammation wings on his back flapped, rolling up a light breeze in the cave. It actually brought him up into the air. But before he could fly too high, he hit the cave wall and the flaming yang wings on his back suddenly disappeared, causing Yang Kai to plummet to the ground, his vision blurred. He carefully studied and experimented for a long time. Yang Kai confirmed that he really obtained the power of flight from the heaven-devouring great emperor. The pair of yang inflammation wings was indeed condensed from the true yang yuan qi in his body. After confirming this, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel relieved. With the Red Cloud sects people in the Hidden Island, although Yang Kai didn't say anything to the old demon these days, he was actually a little worried. He didn't know how to go back. Originally, he wanted to cultivate to the Yuan Qi realm and have the ability to fly before making any plans. Or catch a flying monster beast on the Hidden Island. Or carry him back. But no matter which method it was somewhat unreliable. After all, the Hidden Island was thousands of miles away from Sea City. Even an Immortal Wander Realm expert might not be able to fly over, let alone the Yuan Qi Realm expert and the monster beast he could catch. Now, he could use the true Yang Yuan Qi to condense a pair of Yang inflammation wings behind his back. The problem that troubled Yang Kai was solved. This pair of Yang inflammation wings. According to the old demon, it came from the Heaven-defying Great Emperor's remaining heavenly energy, not a secret treasure. It was not a martial technique, but a special ability that had been derived from it. But if he wanted to use this ability, similarly, it would consume a lot of primordial qi. The cave was not suitable for testing the Yang inflammation wings. Yang Kai restrained the excitement in his heart and suddenly thought of a problem. Old demon, you said that the insects outside, young master, you think too much. The Heaven-defying Great Emperor's insects are very rare. Although it has many descendants, the insects outside can no longer be considered as Heaven-defying Great Emperor's insects. They are just a kind of monster beast. The old demon obviously knew what Yang Kai was thinking. Sigh. Yang Kai sighed, but thinking about it, those insects couldn't be killed. If every one of them had heavenly energy in their body, wouldn't it be terrible? Yang Kai's expression changed again. But after refining the Heaven-defying Great Emperor's insect, I found that I can control those insects. Is there such a thing? The old demon was surprised. Try it and you will know. Yang Kai's mind turned, and a large number of insects rushed in from outside. Some were big and some were small, but they all stopped outside the cave, as if this cave was a forbidden area for them. Ha! It's really like this? Yang Kai laughed. Although those small insects were not lethal, there were a lot of them. What made Yang Kai happy was that those big insects were all 3rd or 4th grade monster beast, and there were even 2 that had reached the 5th grade. 5th grade, which was equivalent to an Yuan Qi master. Searching for treasures in the Hidden Island would be a lot easier with their help. This trip into the tiger's den was really the right one. In a good mood, Yang Kai walked out of the cave, and those large and small insects quickly retreated, taking the initiative to make a path for him. Seeing this scene, the old demon couldn't help but be amazed. After this matter, Yang Kai planned to directly leave this insect cave and take this group of insects to the Hidden Island, but suddenly he remembered a person. Yueo Qing. He didn't know what happened to this Red Cloud sect's proud daughter at the moment. If she was already dead at this moment, then naturally ashes to ashes, earth to earth, all the previous grievances could be put aside. If she was not dead, Yang Kai wanted to take her with him. It was not to take care of her, but there were definitely Red Cloud sect masters on the Hidden Island. If he accidentally encountered those masters after going out, with Yueo Qing in his hand, it would always be a bargaining chip. Thinking of this, Yang Kai followed the path in his memory to the place where Yueo Qing was imprisoned. After walking for a long time, they finally arrived at the cave from before, but when Yang Kai poked his head inside to take a look, his expression immediately changed. In this cave, Yueo Qing was not the only one. In addition to her, there were 3 other people. 2 of them were the Red Cloud sect's younger generation disciples, and the other was an elder of the Red Cloud sect. Yang Kai had heard his name when he was on the ship. Meng Xingyuan. Although his strength could not be compared to Yu Xiaoping, he was also a 7th-layer Yuan Qi master. Why were they here? Yang Kai was stunned. Meng Xingyuan and the others were here. It was Yueo Qing's luck. After the ship was destroyed, the Red Cloud sect's people scattered. Meng Xingyuan gathered several disciples, and like Yueo Qing and the others, they explored the Hidden Island while looking for disciples. For many days, they encountered many dangers along the way, and the disciples suffered heavy casualties. Now, only 2 people were left. Today, when they arrived here, they found that the outer layer of fog was a bit strange, so Meng Xingyuan flew in with the two disciples to investigate. When they investigated, they found Qi Yuan's body, and then followed the clues to this insect cave. At the entrance of the insect cave, there was a piece of torn cloth from Yu Aoqing's dress. Meng Xingyuan immediately knew that the situation was not good, so he led the two disciples to sneak in. He thought it would be very difficult, but he did not expect that they would not encounter any attacks along the way, and so easily found Yu Aoqing. How could they know that all those insects had just been summoned by Yang Kai? So it was so smooth. When Yang Kai came back, Meng Xingyuan and the Red Cloud sect disciple had just arrived. Yu Aoqing was in a daze, and in fear. She described what had happened to her in the past few days, as well as the fate of Zhang Yu and Luo Qianqian. While she was talking, Yang Kai appeared, and both sides were stunned. Meng Xingyuan did not remember that the Red Cloud sect had such a disciple, and Yu Aoqing obviously did not expect that Yang Kai could come back alive. But immediately, Yu Aoqing's eyes surged with resentment and anger, and she gritted her teeth and said, "Martial Uncle Meng, this person is not a disciple of my Red Cloud sect, but a thief who mixed in with the ship. Qi Yuan was killed by him. I ask Martial Uncle Meng to take action and avenge junior brother Qi Yuan." She did not mention that Yang Kai had humiliated her, fearing that if this matter spread, it would not be good for her. Before, she did not dare to do anything to Yang Kai. First of all, there was only her and Yang Kai here, and some of them were in the same boat. Second, she was physically and mentally exhausted, and was not Yang Kai's opponent. But now it was different. Meng Xingyuan and the others had found this place, so she could safely leave. For Yang Kai, this man who had stripped her clothes and profaned her body, how could Yu Aoqing be willing to let him go? She could not wait to tear Yang Kai into pieces with her own hands, to vent the hatred in her heart. As long as he died, no one would know what had happened that day, and she would still be the proud daughter of the Red Cloud sect. After saying this, Yu Aoqing slightly raised her head, looking at Yang Kai arrogantly, her eyes filled with the joy of revenge. Meng Xingyuan's face became cold and he shouted, "Boy, you have guts. You dare to kill my Red Cloud sect disciple. Kill him for me." These words were directed at the two Red Cloud sect disciples. As soon as his voice fell, the two did not hesitate to kill Yang Kai. Yang Kai stared deeply at Yu Aoqing, his eyes flashing with a trace of coldness. His figure flickered, and he flashed more than 10 feet away. When the two Red Cloud sect disciples caught up, Yang Kai flashed again, and after a few more times, disappeared without a trace. So fast! Meng Xingyuan could not help but exclaim, that footwork was really amazing, and he did not know what level of martial skill it was. "Can you still walk?" Meng Xingyuan asked. Yu Aoqing nodded. "Go out with martial uncle. I want to see how that boy leaves that fog." Meng Xingyuan coldly snorted, but he was not in a hurry. As long as the fog was still there, any cultivator below Yuan Qi would not be able to leave, unless they had a flight-type artifact. "Martial uncle, you must kill him. He even wanted to humiliate junior sister Luo Qianqian. If I had not stopped him, he would have already succeeded." Yu Aoqing's beautiful eyes were cold. Without the slightest bit of guilt, she slandered Yang Kai. Meng Xingyuan was furious. Daring to have ideas about my Red Cloud sect disciple? He is really bold. Rest assured, when martial uncle catches him, he will be skinned alive. Yu Aoqing showed a cold smile. Chapter 192. Not waiting for Meng Xingyuan and Yu Aoqing to go far, the sound of a fierce battle suddenly came from outside. A moment later, the two Red Cloud sect disciples who had chased Yang Kai retreated in embarrassment. "What happened?" Meng Xingyuan asked. "Martial uncle, there are so many insects." One of them hurriedly replied with an ugly expression. There was no need for him to answer, as a buzzing sound entered Meng Xingyuan's ears, and in the next moment he saw a large mass of dark, fog-like things rushing towards him. This black mass was made up of a type of black insects that were only the size of a fist and were waving their wings. As far as the eye could see, These insects completely occupied the tunnel, and there were countless of them. Yu Aoqing cried out involuntarily, "Martial ant, we were caught by these insects." Meng Xingyuan's face became cold, shouting, "Retreat behind me." With a single step, he rushed to the front of the Red Cloud sect disciples. His hands opened wide, and a fierce yuan qi burst out. When the strange insects were struck by Meng Xingyuan's attacks, they fell down like dumplings, creating a vacuum in front of him. "Martial uncle is so strong." One of the Red Cloud sect disciples was dazzled, and could not help but praise. "Follow me and kill." Meng Xingyuan's aura was as deep as an abyss, as he took the lead, using his own means to kill. The two Red Cloud sect disciples protected Yu Aoqing in the middle, following closely behind Meng Xingyuan. Meng Xingyuan pushed forward step by step. Every time he made a move, he would definitely be able to kill off several dozen mutated insects. However, there were simply too many of them, and he could not kill them all. After making over 10 moves consecutively, he could not help but feel a little out of breath. His footsteps paused for a moment, and he took in a deep breath to suppress his churning vital energy and blood. Once again, he performed a fierce move. Along the way, the ground was covered with insect corpses, forming a thick layer. After rushing out about 500 feet, Meng Xingyuan suddenly stopped, his expression changing. From the depths of the cave came a cracking sound. The cave wall above them. Also, chunks of mud were falling down. Immediately, a rumbling sound entered their ears. The whole cave shook. "Not good." Meng Xingyuan exclaimed, "This place is going to collapse, let's go." The three Red Cloud sect disciples behind him were also shocked and hurriedly followed his footsteps. However, there were countless strange insects blocking the way. They couldn't speed up even if they wanted to. Meng Xingyuan used all of his strength, but he was still unable to make those strange insects retreat. In his haste, there were some that managed to slip through and attack the three people behind him. This caused them to be flustered. After running for another 300 feet, the tunnel in front of them suddenly collapsed, completely blocking their way. Meng Xingyuan and the three Red Cloud sect disciples' faces were ashen, and Yu Aoqing was even more stunned. Apparently, she had not expected that just as she had seen a glimmer of hope, she would once again fall into despair. The rumbling continued as Yang Kai rushed to the entrance of the cave. The moment he exited the insect cave, the ground beneath his feet suddenly sank down. He didn't dare to stay any longer. Yang Kai continued to run forward. When he was attacked by the two Red Cloud sect disciples, Yang Kai had already ordered those strange insects to destroy the wormhole. He knew that if he were to face an Yuan Qi expert head-on, he would definitely not have a good ending. Now that he had these strange insects in hand, he naturally had to make use of them. These insects were good at digging holes, so destroying their own nest was even easier. The sound of mountains collapsing and the earth cracking could be heard. Yang Kai continued to run for several miles. Only then did he stop and look back. He saw that with the entrance of the wormhole as the center, in a radius of several miles, the earth had sunk a great deal. The entire wormhole had completely collapsed. But Yang Kai was still not at ease. He did not know if such a collapse could take the life of an Yuan Qi expert. With a thought, he ordered those strange insects to search for traces of the Red Cloud sect disciples underground. He had to eliminate them completely. After waiting quietly for about a cup of tea's time, Yang Kai suddenly heard an unwilling and mournful scream coming from underground. It was Meng Xingyuan's scream. It should be that the strange insects had found him and were now fighting. Gradually, the scream was so weak that it could not be heard, and finally disappeared. Meng Xingyuan, an Yuan Qi expert, had died. Those Red Cloud sect disciples, whose strength was far inferior to him, naturally could not survive. They were probably buried deep in the wormhole the moment it collapsed. It's a pity that such a beautiful woman died. The old demon sighed. Yu Aoqing was definitely a rare beauty, but this woman was vicious and had a heart like a snake and scorpion. She really deserved to die. The old demon only felt some regret. Yang Kai remained silent, his expression indifferent, quietly standing in place. Not long after, the earth within a few miles began to squirm. Countless strange insects drilled out of the ground and surrounded him, waiting for orders. These strange insects would be the survival and exploration of Yang Kai on Hidden Island. Since he had mixed into the Red Cloud sect, Yang Kai had been very careful, as if he was walking on thin ice. Until now, he had finally gotten rid of the Red Cloud sect people, giving him a sense of relaxation and freedom. It was time to make a big move. These strange insects could fly, and their speed was not slow, so Yang Kai was not worried about not being able to take them away. Leading these strange insects outside, Yang Kai came to the edge of the fog blockade and issued the order to break the fog. Immediately, several big guys flew over, rushing into the fog and gnawing at it. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the fog blockade of more than a dozen miles was quickly gnawed open. Yang Kai's expression changed. This fog could be used as a killing move, but it seemed that this fog could only be sprayed out by those big strange insects. The fist-sized insects simply did not have this ability. In the next few days, Yang Kai did not rush to explore Hidden Island. Instead, he first found a hidden place to familiarize himself with his Yang inflammation wings. A few days later, Yang Kai stood in the air above Hidden Island, observing the entire island. In mid-air, everything about this mysterious island was imprinted in his eyes. Based on the map he obtained from the Jiang family's madam a few months ago, Yang Kai quickly identified his location and found the correct route. After flying forward for a while, Yang Kai landed on the ground and used his footwork to rush forward. Using the Yang inflammation wings would be much faster, but the consumption of Yuan Qi was also huge. On this mysterious island, Yang Kai did not dare to waste the Yang liquid in his dantian. Flying in the air would easily expose him as a target. It was very likely that he would be targeted by the flying monster beast or an expert of the Red Cloud sect. Although using footwork to hasten his journey was much slower, it was the safest way. For several days, Yang Kai was on his way. Along the way, if he encountered any heavenly treasures, he would not hesitate to eat them and temper them into the energy of his unyielding golden skeleton. Hidden Island was indeed full of dangers. Powerful monster beasts were everywhere. If Yang Kai was not careful, he would have been in a big battle. In the past few days, he had not found any trace of the Red Cloud sect people, which made Yang Kai wonder if they were all dead. But as he approached his final destination, Yang Kai finally saw some traces of human activity. He became more cautious. In the center of Hidden Island was a lonely peak about 100 feet high. Jagged rocks. The scenery was unique. According to the pattern given by Madame Jiang, Yang Kai could determine that the final destination of the pattern was this lonely peak. But now it seemed that the Red Cloud sect people were also aiming for this place. He did not know how many people they had and what kind of strength they had. Arriving at the lonely peak, Yang Kai hesitated for a long time, then gritted his teeth and climbed up. Suppressing his heartbeat and holding his breath, Yang Kai had only climbed half the distance when he heard a violent sound coming from above, shaking the entire lonely peak. His heart trembled, knowing that something must have happened above. He could not help but quicken his pace. After waiting for an incense stick to burn, Yang Kai arrived at the peak, quietly lurking on the side, sneakily looking in the direction of the source of the sound. About 100 feet away, several people from the Red Cloud sect were fiercely bombarding a stone door. After observing for a while, Yang Kai could not help but relax. Among these people, there was no Grand Elder Xianglong of the Red Cloud sect. The leader was impressively Yu Xiaoping, and the rest were mostly true element boundary experts. But at the moment, these people looked quite embarrassed. They should have suffered a lot along the way. Many of them were wounded and covered in blood. Fortunately, they were in such a state, otherwise Yang Kai estimated that he would not have been able to sneak in without being discovered. These people wielded their weapons and unleashed their moves, bombarding the stone door in front of them again and again. Each attack caused the stone door to tremble incessantly, and from the stone door, a dense halo of light spread out, causing their attacks to be ineffective. "Brother Yu," one of them gasped, "what do we do now?" Yu Xiaoping's face was gloomy, quite impatient. "What else can we do? Continue to attack. We must break this damn stone door." My Red Cloud sect has suffered heavy losses this time. Even 2 of our grand elders have fallen. If we do not gain anything, how can we go back? Hearing this, Yang Kai could not help but be overjoyed. It turned out that Xianxia was also dead. He just did not know how the immortal ascension boundary old woman died. But this news undoubtedly made Yang Kai eat a pill of reassurance, and he was no longer afraid. Yu Xiaoping rushed forward, desperately urging his true essence, again and again violently attacking the stone door, hissing. 2 grand elders have fallen, the Red Cloud sect disciples have suffered heavy casualties, and this Yu's daughter's whereabouts are unknown. Everything is just for this broken door. If we cannot break it, we will kill ourselves here. Why should we continue to live in this world? Yu Xiaoping's madness made the other people's faces not look good. This time, going out to explore the hidden island was a wrong decision. If they had known that this trip would be so dangerous, how could they have left the Red Cloud sect? With the Red Cloud sect's heritage, they obviously did not have the qualifications and strength to explore the hidden island. But Yu Xiaoping's words obviously aroused these people's enthusiasm. They were not in a hurry to recover, and all of them silently attacked the stone door together. This stone door was definitely a barrier left behind by a predecessor. Although it was incomparably sturdy, it did not mean that it was unbreakable. The several true element boundary masters did not stop attacking, and the sound of something crashing could be heard coming from the lone peak. In less than an hour, a few cracks had appeared on the stone door. Seeing hope, the Red Cloud sect people became even more ruthless. Chapter 193. Gradually, more and more cracks appeared on the stone door, and it was about to shatter. But all of a sudden, the clear cry of an eagle could be heard from afar. The Red Cloud sect members who were attacking the stone door suddenly paled. "It's the giant eagle!" A person shouted in horror. "It's the giant eagle that tore apart the Supreme Elder." They couldn't help but panic. Before, under the leadership of Xianxia, they explored the hidden island and gained a lot. A few days ago, they suddenly found a bird's nest on a cliff. Inside, there was a young bird that had not yet grown up. Although it had not yet grown up, it was still very handsome. At a glance, one could tell that it was not a low-grade monster beast. Xianxia was delighted to see it, so she flew up and caught the young bird, preparing to raise it. Who would have thought that this would provoke a huge problem? Less than half a day after catching the young bird, it was found by its parents. They were 2 incomparably huge and terrifying giant eagles, whose strength was at least at the 6th order. Although Xianxia was an immortal ascension boundary master, she could barely cope with 1 giant eagle, but the 2 giant eagles were angry that she had caught their offspring, so they joined forces to attack her. Xianxia could only hold on for less than half an hour before she was torn apart alive. At that time, Yu Xiaoping and the others were scared out of their wits. They hid in the woods, not daring to come out, let alone help. After the giant eagles tore apart Xianxia, they hovered in the sky for a long time before slowly leaving. Originally, Yu Xiaoping and the others thought that they had escaped, but they did not expect that these 2 beasts would be so vengeful. Today, they finally found their traces. An eagle cry came out, causing Yu Xiaoping and the others to break out in cold sweat. A moment later, another eagle cry came from afar, echoing the previous one. Looking around, they could see that from the east and west, there were 2 black dots rapidly approaching. Quickly break this stone door." Yu Xiaoping shouted in horror, "Otherwise we will all die." 2 6th-order monster beasts, with their Yuan Qi cultivator strength, they simply could not cope. Once caught, only death awaited them. There was no need for Yu Xiaoping to remind them. Which one of the remaining people were not using all of their strength to attack the stone door? However, although more and more cracks appeared on the stone door, it still stood upright in front of them, blocking their way. As the giant eagle rapidly approached, one of the Yuan Qi masters couldn't bear the pressure of death and hurriedly used his footwork to escape. "Come back! Junior brother Zhang, come back!" Yu Xiaoping roared, "If we put in more effort, we'll be able to break through this stone door and hide inside. If you run now, where can you run to?" How could that junior brother Zhang be willing to stay? Wind blew under the soles of his feet as he ran for his life. The crowd didn't see any hope in the first place. After being provoked by this junior brother Zhang, one of them immediately retreated. He hurriedly said, "Let's run quickly. I'm afraid this stone door won't open for a while. If we run now, we still have a chance of survival." After saying that, he also hurriedly ran down. They didn't have enough manpower to begin with. Now that they were suddenly missing 2 people, they couldn't see any hope. The others also stomped their feet hatefully and hurriedly dispersed, each fleeing for their lives. Kai Yang hid himself well, not daring to move a single muscle. Quietly looking up, he saw 2 giant eagles appear in the sky. Even though they were separated by a distance of several hundred feet, these giant eagles looked extraordinary and majestic. If they really landed, Yang Kai estimated that they were at least 7 or 8 feet long. 2 pairs of sharp eagle eyes stared at the fleeing red cloud cultivators below and swooped down. Not long after, a mournful scream came from afar. When it reached Yang Kai's ears, it made his heart tremble. When it reached the ears of the red cloud cultivators, it made them tremble with fear. They knew that another person had been killed by the giant eagles. Almost at the same time as the scream stopped, another scream came out. The second person was killed by the giant eagles. Yuan Qi experts, in front of the 6th Order Sky Overlords, were as fragile as newborn babies, without any power to resist. Yang Kai didn't dare to make any rash movements, so he stayed in place and waited for a whole day. After confirming that the 2 giant eagles and the Red Cloud sects people had all disappeared, he finally came out of his hiding place. His face was full of lingering fear. Fortunately, he did not rely on the wings of yang inflammation to fly around. Otherwise, if he encountered those 2 giant eagles, he was afraid that he would have met with disaster. Frowning, Yang Kai came in front of the stone door. Looking at the broken cracks, he operated his Yuan Qi and punched it. The stone door shook, and the cracks became denser. The fog on the stone door was not as gorgeous as before. Instead, it gave off a feeling that it was about to run out of oil. Aware of this, Yang Kai's spirit was greatly aroused. Punch after punch, he fiercely attacked the stone door. Who would have thought that after several hundred punches, the stone door was still the same as before? Strange. Yang Kai frowned. Thinking about it, he called out in his mind. After waiting for a long time, a buzzing sound came. It was the group of insects that followed Yang Kai. These insects were not far behind Yang Kai, waiting for any danger so that Yang Kai could summon them to help, but he did not expect that they would not be used at all. Summoning the big insects, Yang Kai asked them to spit out some kind of strange fog towards the stone door. Yang Kai wanted to see if this strange fog could erode the stone door. The several large insects were well behaved. After receiving the order, they came to the stone door and opened their mouths to spit out white fog. Crackling sounds came out. The stone door was indeed corroded a little. Seeing this, Yang Kai nodded. Letting the large insects continue to spit out the fog, he sat to the side to recover. About an hour later, Kai Yang suddenly heard a crashing sound. Opening his eyes, he saw that the stone door had been shattered, revealing a dark cave entrance. Yang Kai did not rush in. Instead, he let the group of insects fly in first to explore. After waiting outside for half a day, the group of strange insects flew back safely. After confirming that there was no danger inside, Yang Kai stepped inside. After entering, he ordered the insects to guard the entrance and let the large insects spit out a layer of fog to block the entrance. With these insects and the fog as a barrier, Yang Kai believed that even if the Red Cloud sect people escaped the giant eagle's pursuit, they would not be able to come back. As they walked deeper into the cave, it wasn't a straight path. Instead, it spiraled downwards. Before going far, Yang Kai felt comfortable all over, as if in this cave, the heaven and earth energy was extremely rich. The more he went down, the stronger this feeling became. After going down for several thousand feet, Yang Kai estimated that he had reached the bottom of this lonely peak. Only then did he see the end of the road. Below was a huge and spacious space. The stone walls were dotted with traces of light, making this place look somewhat magnificent. On both sides of the road, there was a row of stone shelves divided into many layers. Each layer had something placed on it. Yang Kai strolled forward, arriving in front of the stone shelves. With the help of the light, he glanced at the top layer. Supreme Solitary Sect? Yang Kai looked at the 3 large words engraved on the stone shelves. He could not help but be surprised. He had heard of this sect when he was traveling in Sea City. It was the only transcendent force overseas that was comparable to the central capital's 8 great families. The sect had countless disciples and many experts, and its reputation was widespread. Did this sect have some kind of relationship with this place? On this layer of stone shelves engraved with the words Supreme Solitary Sect, Yang Kai saw a treasure seal. Reaching out and picking it up, he found that it was not light. This treasure seal should have been carved from some kind of precious material. It could even be said that this treasure seal itself was an artifact. After examining it, Yang Kai was surprised to find the word Supreme 1 to 2 at the bottom of this treasure seal. Sure enough, this was a treasure of Supreme Solitary Sect. But why would it appear here? With a trace of doubt, Yang Kai looked down at the next layer of stone shelves. This layer of stone shelves was also engraved with words, and surprisingly, it was a great sect that Yang Kai had heard of before. Ancient Cloud Island. Although this sect's strength was not comparable to Supreme Solitary Sect, it was still considered a first-class force in the Endless Sea Islands. Placed on this stone shelf was a book of cultivation techniques. Yang Kai casually flipped through it and felt that this secret art was not simple. Its grade should not be low, at least a heaven-grade secret art. However, Yang Kai already cultivated the true Yang secret art and the art of yin-yang joyous unification, so he did not need this secret art, so he just casually put it down. Looking further down, Yang Kai's expression became more and more strange. On each layer of this stone shelf, the name of a great sect was engraved, and on each layer, there was also something. Whether it was a martial skill or a secret art, an artifact, or some kind of token, there were many strange things. These sects were all first-class and second-class forces in the Endless Sea Islands. There were more than a dozen of them. A third-class force like the Red Cloud sect was simply not qualified to appear on these stone shelves. If his guess was correct, then these things on these stone shelves really belonged to those sects. But why were they all gathered here? Looking at this, Yang Kai suddenly remembered something. It was a strange story he heard in a tea house in Sea City. It was said that 300 years ago, there was a person who begged all the sects in the Endless Sea Islands, wanting to be a disciple of one of these sects. However, his aptitude was somewhat unsightly, and every time he went to a sect, he would be rejected and driven away. Some sect disciples even mocked and ridiculed him, and even fought with him. His perseverance was not bad, and even after visiting all the sects in the Endless Sea Islands, he still had no results. Disheartened, this person was also somewhat desperate, and hated those sects that were not willing to accept him. He vowed to find a way to cultivate. This matter was originally just a small matter. Those famous sects would reject countless people who wanted to join them every year, and he was just one of them. However, 30 years later, a major event happened overseas. The Greater One Sect's sect master seal was lost, and it was unknown which divine thief had sneaked into the sect and stolen it. Immediately after, the Endless Sea Islands' great sects sent out news that all of them had lost their treasures. Some of these things were very valuable, and some were not necessarily very valuable, but all of them had a special meaning to these sects. For a time, the great sects were in panic, afraid that the divine thief had set his eyes on their treasures. But even if they were on guard, they still could not avoid the fate of being stolen. That stealthy thief, in the most impossible situation, always took away the things that they guarded so closely. Chapter 194. At that time, this matter caused an uproar overseas, and all the major sects lost face. More than a dozen treasures were stolen one after another, which also aroused the anger of these sections. All parties gathered together, and the old men who had been in seclusion all year round set out, wanting to find the whereabouts of the thief and recover the lost treasures. Hard work paid off. After several months of investigation, these sects finally found some clues. All kinds of signs indicated that the person who stole the treasures of more than a dozen major sects was actually the person who was driven out of the sect 30 years ago. It was unknown what kind of fortuitous encounter this person had, but in just 30 years, he had cultivated his strength to an unattainable level. At this point, the major sects finally knew why someone would steal their treasures. It turned out that this person held a grudge for being driven out of the sect and wanted to teach these snobbish sects a lesson. The experts of those sects asked this person for the stolen treasures, but were refused. Because of a disagreement, the two sides launched a deadly battle on the sea. This person had single-handedly dealt with the joint attack of experts from more than 10 great sections. In that battle, several isolated islands had been destroyed, and the experts from those great sects had also suffered heavy casualties. As for whether the thief was still alive or not, no one knew. Because after the experts who participated in that battle returned, they did not mention a word about this matter. Some people said that he was killed, some said that he was seriously injured and fled. No one knew the truth. As time passed, the experts who participated in the battle were all dead, and this matter slowly subsided, but the stolen treasures were never found. Yang Kai also thought that this was a story casually made up by the predecessors. After all, many of the so-called strange stories were made up by the storytellers in order to make a living. In 10 strange stories, it was already very good if 3 of them were true. Even these 3 items, which were rumored by countless people, gradually lost their original flavor, and a lot of exaggeration was added to it. But, seeing all this today, Yang Kai knew that it was not a story, but something that really happened. The Greater One Sect's Master's seal must be driven by the Greater One Sect's unique mantra in order to become a killing treasure. At this moment, at the top of this stone shelf, it was covered in layers of dust. Ancient Cloud Island's Supreme Secret Art, Azura Sect's Sect Hallowed Artifact, Falling Flowers Sect's Thousand Blossoming Blood Begonia. Which one of these wasn't priceless? Which one of these wasn't of great significance to these sects? Even if some of these items on these stone shelves didn't have much value, since they were placed here, they were immeasurable treasures to these sects. It turned out that the things that person had stolen were all placed here. Yang Kai's mood fluctuated. He could imagine how much of a shock these things would cause to the Endless Sea Island's great forces if they appeared. Oh, the grade of these artifacts isn't bad, young master. Would you like to collect a few for self-defense? Old Demon suddenly asked. There weren't many artifacts here, only 3 of them. Besides the Greater One Sect's Master Seal, which required a matching mantra, Yang Kai could take the other 2 if he really wanted to use them. These artifacts were all at least heaven grade, so Yang Kai was naturally tempted. But if he were to use it outside and reveal any traces of himself, then it would only lead to trouble, so Kai Yang had some misgivings. Ignoring the old demon's inquiry, Yang Kai put the things in his hands back on the stone shelf before walking forward step by step. After walking for a short time, he was greeted by a rich and pure world energy. Not far in front of him, there seemed to be a 5-colored brilliance that tugged at Yang Kai's heartstrings. Yang Kai's expression brightened, and he couldn't help quickening his pace. Turning a corner, Yang Kai entered a place that looked like a living room. The 5-colored brilliance was coming from here. Looking up, Kai Yang could only see a lotus flower the size of a wash basin floating in the air. Next to this lotus flower, there was something that looked like water, wrapping around this 5-colored lotus flower. Although it looked like liquid, it wasn't liquid. Instead, it gave Yang Kai an inexplicable feeling of palpitations, as if his soul was somewhat flustered and unstable. Soul-warming lotus. The old demon exclaimed, "It's actually a soul-warming lotus." Heavens, a soul-warming lotus actually appeared here, and it's a 5-colored soul-warming lotus. Treasure? Yang Kai licked his lips and asked with some excitement. More than a treasure, this is simply a supreme treasure, young master. The old demon was so excited that he was somewhat incoherent. This is a soul-warming lotus, a treasure that all cultivators in the world dream of obtaining. No matter how high your strength is, no matter how strong your cultivation is, this thing will be of great use to you. Why didn't this old master find this thing back then? Yang Kai chuckled. From what you're saying, you can't collect this thing? The old demon shuddered and said, Young master is joking, this old servant is now just a wisp of soul. Not to mention collecting it, if I were to come into contact with it, it would be strange if it didn't collect me. Tell me, what is the use of this thing? For better or worse, you're an old demon, so don't be so flustered. The old demon was choked speechless for a long time, thinking to himself, You're just an ignorant fool who doesn't know how rare and precious this thing is, so you can be so calm. If you knew of its great use, you would definitely lose your composure like boss. But why isn't this old master's luck as good? On the contrary, the young master's luck is great. A few days ago, he refined a trace of heavenly energy and obtained the ability to fly, and now he actually encountered the soul-warming lotus. Just how heaven-defying must his luck be to be able to continuously encounter such great luck? Filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred, the old demon held back for a long time before he finally recovered. He deliberated and said, The soul-warming lotus, as its name suggests, is a heavenly treasure used to nourish one's soul. Young master, you know about soul, right? Although you're currently in the chi transforming stage and can't cultivate soul, it still exists in your mind and your perception originates from soul. Once you reach the immortal ascension boundary, you can begin to cultivate. The stronger your soul, the more obvious the benefits. If two people of similar strength were to fight, the one with the stronger soul would undoubtedly have the upper hand. Yang Kai frowned and impatiently interrupted him, Get to the point. Was this old demon treating him like a 3-year-old child? Although Yang Kai couldn't cultivate soul, he still knew about it. Yes. The old demon was gloomy and continued, Cultivating soul is very difficult. It's many times more difficult than improving one's physical strength. However, there are some heavenly treasures that can improve one's soul, and the soul-warming lotus is one of those treasures. This kind of heavenly treasure will never disappear and will never be refined. Once it's collected, it will only exist in the cultivator's soul sea. There's no need to care about it as it will constantly nourish the cultivator's soul sea, slowly making it stronger and more condensed. It can't be refined, but it also won't disappear? That's right, because there's no one in this world whose soul sea can refine the soul-warming lotus, not even those who stand at the peak of the world. The old demon's tone was solemn and heavy. This is a very special kind of heavenly treasure. In terms of value, it's much more valuable than the heaven-devouring great emperor bug that young master refined a few days ago. This is because it will accompany you for the rest of your life. From the moment you collect it until the end of your life, it will nourish you all the time, all the time, all the time. All you need to do is sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Good stuff, I want it. Yang Kai's eyes lit up and he was about to rush forward. Wait. The old demon shouted, Young master, don't be rash. The old demon was scared to death. Just now, Yang Kai had shown no interest, but now he was suddenly full of interest. This change was so fast that he was almost caught off guard. What's wrong? Yang Kai was a bit displeased. Young master, do you see a layer of something like liquid around the soul-warming lotus? Do you know what it is? The old demon asked. What? This is the sea of consciousness left behind by the strong after they die. It contains the power of their divine sense. Young master, if you rush in so recklessly with your chi transforming stage strength, I'm afraid you'll immediately die. Sea of consciousness? Yang Kai was stunned. Can a person's sea of consciousness be preserved after they die? The sea of consciousness was originally ethereal and formless. It was a manifestation of one's mental strength. When a person died, it was like a lamp going out. Naturally, the sea of consciousness couldn't be preserved. Others can't, but when a person who possesses the soul-warming lotus dies, their sea of consciousness will be preserved. This is the strength of the soul-warming lotus. The old demon explained, Oh right, young master, if you collected the soul-warming lotus and died that day, it would also be like this. Yang Kai couldn't help but roll his eyes. He lowered his head and saw that there was indeed a skeleton under the soul-warming lotus. Presumably, this skeleton was that godly thief who had caused a huge uproar that year. He died here, but the soul-warming lotus and his sea of consciousness were preserved. Raising his eyebrows, Xianxia asked, "Old demon, don't you need this kind of mental strength?" The old demon laughed and said, "Young master is right. If young master doesn't have any other orders, this old servant will begin to devour this person's sea of consciousness." "How long do you need?" "I can't say, it might take a month." The old demon replied, "After all, this person wasn't weak when he was alive. With the help of the soul-warming lotus, his sea of consciousness is quite good." "A month, then I'll help you guard." Xianxia nodded. "No need, young master, look over there. The soul-warming lotus isn't the only treasure here." Xianxia turned his head and looked over. He saw that at the bottom of the cave, there was a dense and pure mist. Energy visible to the naked eye was surging. Ever since he entered here, Xianxia's gaze had been attracted by the five-colored lotus, so he didn't pay much attention to it. "What is this?" "Pure heaven and earth energy. It can also be called an earth vein. Young master, good luck. You can go absorb the heaven and earth energy in this earth vein to cultivate. Once this old servant has refined this sea of consciousness, I'll come back to collect the soul-warming lotus." "This is an earth vein?" Xianxia was stunned. That thief from 300 years ago really found a good place to cultivate. No wonder he could cultivate to the point where all the great sects were helpless against him in just 30 years. It turned out that not only did he have the help of the soul-warming lotus, he also had this earth vein. "It's just a small earth vein. Moreover, it's about to dry up," the old demon replied. "All right, go do your thing. Don't worry about me." The old demon was overjoyed. He hurriedly flew out with the soul breaker all wrapped around him. He rushed to the edge of the sea of consciousness and began to devour it. Xianxia even heard him let out a satisfied sound, like a hungry ghost who had been thirsty for many years hugging a naked beauty. Chapter 195. Xianxia walked into the earth vein, and as soon as he was enveloped by the dense world energy, he felt a burst of comfort throughout his body. He did not need to circulate his secret art. His hundreds of millions of pores automatically opened up, and every inch of his flesh and blood, and every cell in his body rejoiced. Very rich and pure world energy, Xianxia was pleasantly surprised. Sitting down cross-legged, Xianxia began to circulate his secret art, like a whale sucking in water, swallowing the earth vein's energy. In the past, that god thief had used 30 years to cultivate to the point where many of the Endless Sea Islands sects had a headache. Firstly, he had the help of the soul-warming lotus, and secondly, he had this earth vein. The former nourished his spirit, while the latter nourished his body. With these two treasures, it would be strange if his strength did not increase quickly. It was a pity that this was only a small earth vein. The amount of heaven and earth energy it contained was not very large. Furthermore, it had been absorbed by the thief for 30 years. There was not much heaven and earth energy left in the earth vein. It was about to dry up. But even so, for the current Xianxia, it was still a great supplement. His body's special characteristics allowed him to absorb world energy much faster than the god thief of the past. The unyielding golden skeleton was like a bottomless pit, so no matter how much world energy entered his body, it would be swallowed up, so there was no need to worry about it holding up. Moreover, the earth vein's world energy was pure and rich, so there was almost no need to burn it. After circulating through his meridians, the world energy would flow into the unyielding golden skeleton's large warehouse, becoming Xianxia's reserve. As Xianxia swallowed the earth vein's world energy, the old demon swallowed the knowledge sea energy of the god thief. The two did not interfere with each other, and were both physically and mentally happy, forgetting the passage of time. After a full month and a half, Xianxia took a deep breath and slowly opened his eyes. The small earth vein had been unrestrainedly absorbed by Xianxia, and had been completely drained, so the world energy visible to the naked eye no longer existed. Carefully feeling his current realm, Xianxia's face lit up with joy. Unknowingly, his strength had risen to the chi-transforming 9th stage, and he was only one step away from breaking through to the separation and reunion boundary. Moreover, Xianxia could feel that the energy in his body, whether in terms of quality or quantity, had already reached the separation and reunion boundary. The only thing missing was the comprehension of martial arts. The advancement of every major realm required one's own comprehension. It was the same when he was advancing to the initial element stage, and it was the same when he was advancing to the Qi transformation stage. Now, if he wanted to advance to the separation and reunion stage, he would also need to comprehend. However, Yang Kai had yet to touch that layer of shackles. It depended on luck and opportunity, and was not something that could be achieved through hard work. He looked up and saw that the old demon had already absorbed all of the knowledge sea energy around the soul-warming lotus and was waiting for him to wake up. In front of him was the multicolored soul-warming lotus. Yang Kai slowly stood up and walked in front of this supreme sacred object. "Old demon, is there a need to pay special attention to it?" Yang Kai asked. "There is no need to pay special attention to it. If young master was an immortal ascension boundary expert who had cultivated his divine sense, he may need to struggle with it, but young master has not yet cultivated his divine sense, so all you need to do is accept it." Since there was no need to pay special attention to it, Yang Kai did not hesitate and stretched out his hand towards the multicolored soul-warming lotus. Just as his fingers touched the lotus, it disappeared. At the same time, Yang Kai suddenly felt refreshed, his mind clearer than ever before, and even his perception had become much stronger. Involuntarily, Yang Kai took a deep breath, his whole body shivering in comfort. Even if he carefully probed, he could not find any trace of the soul-warming lotus, but Yang Kai knew that it was definitely in his mind at this moment. Only after he had cultivated his divine sense would he be able to see it. The multicolored soul-warming lotus. The old demon was both envious and jealous. Yang Kai laughed. "Young master, in the future, you should find some precious treasures that can nourish your divine sense so this soul-warming lotus can absorb them. Once it one day evolves into 7 colors, it will be of even greater help to you." "It can grow?" Yang Kai was somewhat surprised. Of course, when the soul-warming lotus is born, it only has one color, but it also has different grades. The more colors it has, the higher its grade. The highest grade it can reach is 7 colors. For example, a single-color soul-warming lotus requires 100 years to double the size of a person's knowledge sea. A 5-color soul-warming lotus only requires 20 years, and a 7-color soul-warming lotus only requires 5 years. Amazing! Yang Kai was secretly speechless. Although he had yet to cultivate his divine sense, he knew how difficult it was to cultivate it. Just as the old demon had said before, cultivating one's divine sense was more than 100 times more difficult than cultivating one's body. But now, with the help of the soul-warming lotus, he didn't have to worry about it at all. His divine sense would become stronger and more condensed. Speaking of which, the multicolored soul-warming lotus is not bad. Yang Kai wasn't dissatisfied. Being able to obtain this thing was already heaven-defying luck. He couldn't expect to obtain a 7-color lotus in one go. Naturally, it's a very good treasure. When it grows to 7 colors in the future, it will be the world's most precious treasure. But this thing grows very slowly, and it only absorbs the energy of precious treasures that can strengthen one's divine sense. If you want to turn this multicolored lotus into a 7-color, young master will have to put in a lot of effort. Let's just leave it to fate. I won't force it. Yang Kai was more open-minded. If it could become a 7-color lotus in his lifetime, then it would be his luck. If it couldn't, then there was no point in forcing it. It's good that young master has this kind of attitude. The old demon felt a burst of admiration. He was young, but he was calm and steady. The more he interacted with Yang Kai, the more he felt a sense of admiration. If it were any other young man, with the old demon's belly full of tricks and experience, he would have long since tricked them. But in front of Yang Kai, the old demon didn't dare to have any bad intentions. He respected him in everything. It's time to go out. Yang Kai took a deep breath. After staying here for more than a month, he had already collected the soul-warming lotus and absorbed the earth vein. He had already obtained all the benefits, so there was naturally no need to stay here. Before leaving, Yang Kai dug a hole and buried the bones of the divine thief inside. Walking all the way out when he passed by the stone shelf, Yang Kai hesitated for a long time before restraining his restless thoughts. He didn't look at the artifacts that made his heart beat faster and strode away. There were 3 artifacts on the stone shelf. In addition to the Tai seal, Yang Kai could take the other 2 for his own use. But the divine thief didn't use them, so there must be some kind of mystery. Perhaps once he used these things, those overseas sects would be able to sense it through some special method. This was not Yang Kai's own speculation, but it was the truth. Many great sects had placed barriers on their hallowed artifacts. Within a certain range, if an outsider tried to use it, it would be detected. Yang Kai was planning to return to Sea City, so naturally he didn't dare to refine this hot potato. He would leave them here first, and then come back to pick them up when he left the island. A few thousand feet up, Yang Kai once again arrived at the top of the lonely peak. The group of insects were still dutifully guarding the broken stone door. The Yuan-Chi experts of the Red Cloud sect showed no signs of returning. Presumably they were all hunted down by the 2 giant eagles. Letting the big insect break through the fog at the door, Yang Kai walked out. Standing on the lonely peak, Yang Kai looked around. This place was thousands of miles away from Sea City. If he wanted to leave the island, he could only rely on the Yang Inflammation Wings, but using the Yang Inflammation Wings would consume too much Yuan Qi. After all this time, the Dantian only had 30 drops of Yang liquid left, which was not enough to support him flying thousands of miles. Flying thousands of miles was already very difficult, and once he encountered a storm at sea, he may need to take a detour to avoid it. In this way, the demand for Yang liquid would be even greater. He would need at least 400 drops of Yang liquid to leave this damned place. 400 drops? Was there so many Yang attribute heaven and earth treasures on the island? Yang Kai was somewhat uncertain, but in any case, looking for Yang attribute heaven and earth treasures to increase the amount of Yang liquid in the Dantian was the most important task. Letting the insects once again spit out fog to seal the cave, Yang Kai left a lot of insects here to guard, and took the other half of the group down the lonely peak. For many days, Yang Kai searched for Yang attribute heaven and earth treasures, and the harvest was quite good. In just 4 or 5 days, the amount of Yang liquid in the Dantian broke through to more than 100 drops. With the guidance of the origin of Yang seal on his chest, as long as it was within 3,000 feet of Yang Kai, these heaven and earth treasures could not escape Yang Kai's search. Yang Kai was not in a hurry. Now on the entire island, he was probably the only living person. In addition to those powerful monster beasts, Yang Kai could be regarded as the master of the island. Exploring and collecting heaven and earth treasures, he would pick them all together. If it was Yang attribute, he would absorb it on the spot and turn it into Yang liquid, and if it was not Yang attribute, he would keep it first and put it in his bag. Occasionally, he would come across some strange flowers and herbs guarded by the monster beast, and Yang Kai would instruct the insects to distract the monster beast's attention while he waited for the opportunity to pick them. It was always scary but not dangerous. The map he had obtained from the Jiang family's madam had been a great help. Previously, Yang Kai didn't know what was so mysterious about the marked locations on the map, but after accidentally entering a certain area and encountering a 6th-order monster beast, he realized that the marked locations were all dangerous places. Since then, Yang Kai had avoided these marked points and did not encounter too much trouble. Traveling north and south, in less than half a month, Yang Kai had explored the entire hidden island. All the precious treasures that could be harvested had been picked up, filling up a large bag. These things were all earth and heaven-level treasures, more than 10 times more than what Yang Kai had obtained on the right peninsula of Xianxia. He also harvested a lot of Yang attribute things, but until now, Yang Kai still only had about 300 drops of Yang liquid in his Dantian. 300 drops of Yang liquid, if he was lucky enough, maybe he could fly to Sea City. But maybe, Yang Kai was not completely sure. If he could not fly to Sea City and accidentally fell into the sea, he would certainly die. Even if he could not drown, the monster beast in the sea would be enough to take his life. He had to find some more Yang attribute items to gather 400 drops. Only then would he be absolutely certain of success. Could it be he really had to stroke the tiger's whiskers? Thinking about it, Kai Yang's heart hardened and he made up his mind. Chapter 196. A few days ago, when Yang Kai had accidentally passed by a dangerous place, he had sensed a Yang attribute treasure, but because that place was specifically marked on the map, Yang Kai did not dare to go there. Now it seemed that he had no choice but to go there. All the Yang attribute treasures on the island had been collected, and if he wanted to collect 400 drops of Yang liquid, there was no other place besides there. The only thing he did not know was what kind of monster beast was guarding that place. He had to be careful, in case he encountered the 2 giant eagles he had seen a few days ago. Even if Yang Kai had the Yang inflammation wings, he would not be able to escape from their pursuit. After spending a day's effort, Yang Kai arrived at the perimeter of the dangerous place. Yang Kai thought about it for a long time before ordering his insects to take some precautions, carefully speculating about any possible situation and how to deal with it. Only after he had a plan in mind did he set off. The origin of Yang on Yang Kai's chest once again emitted a scorching hot reaction. A few hundred feet in front of him, there was indeed a Yang attribute item, and its grade was not low either. If there was enough energy, it would be enough to refine 400 drops of Yang liquid. Success or failure would depend on this adventure. At this moment, Yang Kai was not afraid. Step by step he walked towards the direction of the Yang origin seal's reaction. There seemed to be a fishy smell in the air, and there were traces of the monster beast, all of which indicated that there was great danger ahead. After a few hundred feet, the fishy smell became stronger. Yang Kai faintly saw that not far ahead, there was a huge dark red rock standing there. The Yang Qi that the Yang origin seal had sensed was coming from this rock. Yang Kai was delighted. He suddenly felt that there was hope to return home. Such a large piece of Yang attribute stone, if he absorbed all the Yang Qi, he could easily obtain 400 drops of Yang liquid. This stone should be similar to the Yang inflammation stone mined by the blood group, but its texture was much better than the Yang inflammation stone. Continuing to approach cautiously, Yang Kai saw that there was a cave entrance that was not too deep at the bottom of the rock. Inside the cave, there was a handsome monster beast. It was squinting its purple eyes and staring at him. Yang Kai's heart skipped a beat. He never thought that his whereabouts would be exposed like this. However, the monster beast didn't seem to want to chase after Yang Kai. Instead, he just crouched in the cave and looked at him with ill intentions. This was its lair, the source of its strength and survival. Unless it was absolutely necessary, it would not leave. After walking another 300 feet forward, the demonic beast let out a low roar, and its purple eyes flashed with a ferocious light. It slowly stood up and walked out of the cave. It was only at this moment that Yang Kai finally saw its true form. It was a monster beast that looked like a wolf, but its whole body was covered in dark red fur. It was about 20 feet tall and had sharp fangs at the corner of its mouth. It bared its fangs at Yang Kai. An invisible pressure descended. Yang Kai almost couldn't breathe. A 6th grade monster beast. It was definitely a 6th grade monster beast. It was not much weaker than the giant eagle he saw a few days ago. Such a monster beast, even if Yang Kai tried his best, it would be impossible for him to kill it. Slowly bending down, Yang Kai picked up a stone at his feet while being vigilant of the monster beast's movements. Then, with all his strength, he threw the stone at the monster beast. Such a blatant provocation completely enraged the dark red wolf monster. Yang Kai only saw a red light flash in his eyes. The monster beast appeared 300 feet away from him. What a fast speed! Yang Kai's face darkened. Without hesitation, he quickly turned around and used his footwork to quickly retreat. There was a whistling sound of wind behind him. It was the monster beast quickly approaching. Yang Kai's hair stood on end. His spine was filled with cold wind. He increased his speed to the limit and kept flashing. "Young master, it's not good. It's about to catch up with you." The old demon cried out in fear. "Help!" Yang Kai didn't dare to be distracted and continued to run forward. The old demon responded and turned into a black gas with the soul breaker all wrapped around it. It rushed toward the wolf monster. The monster beast reacted quickly. It opened its mouth and bit the soul breaker all while running. The old demon was scared and screamed again and again. The wolf monster couldn't bite the soul breaker all in half. It found that the all was hard to chew and spat it out. The old demon still had a lingering fear. This period of delay allowed Kai Yang to open up some distance between them. Dashing forward another 1,000 meters or so, Yang Kai finally arrived at the location where he had laid out his plan. Yang Kai no longer tried to escape, but instead turned around to face the monster beast, only to see it pounce towards him like a shadow. As it flew through the air, the sharp fangs in its mouth reflected a terrifying light. Yang Kai moved his feet and flashed more than 100 feet away. Before he could stand firm, the wolf monster rushed over again. Its speed was not much slower than the insect of the heaven-devouring great emperor. Yang Kai suddenly felt the pressure on him decrease. He used his footwork again and fought with it. At this moment, the old demon finally arrived and cooperated with Yang Kai to distract the wolf monster, slightly alleviating Yang Kai's awkward situation. One man, one demon, and one wolf dashed endlessly within a radius of several tens of feet. Several times, Yang Kai was almost pounced on by it, but always at the most dangerous moment, he managed to escape. Even so, Yang Kai's whole body was dripping with sweat. Using the strength of Qi Transformation Level 9 to deal with a 6th-order monster beast was really overestimating himself. Without the help of his self-created footwork, he would have been bitten to death by the monster beast. But in order to leave the hidden island, Yang Kai had to take risks. After fighting for a full incense worth of time, Yang Kai looked around and revealed a smile. The yang inflammation wings on his back opened and he flew into the sky. "Old demon, you and these insects block it, I'm going," Yang Kai said, turned around and flew toward the big stone. "Young master, you have to hurry up. This old servant is really afraid that it will swallow me." The old demon was uneasy. Although there was no danger hiding in the soul breaker all, it would be very scary if it was swallowed. The monster beast stared at the direction Yang Kai left. As if it was aware that he wanted to take its place, it couldn't help but roar and chase after him. But after running for a short distance, he ran head-on into a cloud of fog. A burst of light sound came out, and the wolf monster howled. It hurriedly retreated and stared at the white fog in front of it with fear. This circle of fog really lived up to Yang Kai's expectations. The strong 6th-order monster beast couldn't enter and leave freely. Its powerful corrosive ability was enough to hinder its steps. The wolf demon was also smart. It knew that the fog was very lethal, so it quickly changed its direction and tried to rush out from the other side. However, after it made a big circle, it found that the area around it had been wrapped in fog at some point. It covered the sky and the earth, so it had no way to go up and no way to go down. This was Yang Kai's previous deployment. In advance, he let the big insect spit out a large circle of fog here, deliberately leaving a gap. He led the wolf monster in and then closed the gap. He used the yang inflammation wings to leave calmly. From the beginning to the end, he didn't want to kill this powerful 6th-order monster beast. He didn't have the ability to kill it. He only wanted to trap it. Sha sha sha. A scalp-numbing sound came from underground, and the entire ground boiled. Immediately, countless strange insects drilled out from the ground and fearlessly attacked the demon wolf. The wolf monster roared angrily, and a burst of fire gushed out from its body. Before the insects could get close, they fell down. The old demon didn't dare to get close. It just flew around to distract the wolf monster. On the other side, Yang Kai had flown to the big stone. He stretched out his hands and pressed on the stone, madly circulating the yang qi in the stone, and pulled it into his body. The yang energy contained in this big stone was indeed much better than the yang inflammation stone. No wonder the wolf monster would cultivate here. This stone was also very beneficial to it. The surging yang energy entered his body, and in the blink of an eye, his meridians swelled. Drip, a drop of yang liquid formed and fell into the dantian. Drip, drip. Yang Kai felt that he had never heard such a beautiful sound in his life. The yang liquid in the dantian was increasing at the rate of 1 drop per breath. 320 drops, 350 drops, 380 drops. In less than 100 breaths' time, Yang Kai had already achieved his goal. The yang energy in the big stone was almost depleted by 1/10. However, Yang Kai didn't stop. He was still circulating the true yang secret art. The wolf monster's howls came one after another, mixed with anger and murderous intent. After all, it was a 6th-grade monster beast. Yang Kai didn't know how long the fog could delay it. If it hardened its heart and rushed out without caring about its own injuries, the insects wouldn't be able to stop it. After a while, the Dantian had more than 500 drops of yang liquid. This amount was definitely enough to support him flying to Sea City. At this moment, a black gas suddenly flew over. It was the soul breaker all. The old demon anxiously said, "Young master, run for your life. That guy is about to rush out." Before his voice fell, Yang Kai saw a fiery red figure quickly approaching him. It had already rushed out. The wolf monster's body was covered in flames. It was this layer of flames that resisted the erosion of the fog, only causing it some minor injuries. 100 feet, 80 feet, 50 feet, 30 feet, the wolf monster was as fast as the wind. With a whoosh, the yang inflammation wings on Yang Kai's back spread out again. At the same time as the wolf monster pounced, he quickly flew into the sky. Looking down, the wolf monster was staring at him with its pair of purple eyes, its throat constantly roaring. Yang Kai grinned, "Thank you. In fact, I didn't give you much yang qi. I only took 2/10. You don't have to be so resentful, right?" As if it understood Yang Kai's words, the wolf monster was extremely annoyed by his attitude. It roared again and again. Yang Kai didn't want to deal with it anymore. Maintaining the yang inflammation wings consumed yuan qi. With a flap of the yang inflammation wings, he quickly flew away. The wolf monster was also tactful. It knew that it couldn't do anything to an enemy that could fly, so it naturally didn't chase. Coming to the previous place, Yang Kai put away the bag of heaven and earth treasures and led the surviving insects in the direction of the Lonely Peak. 2 days later, Yang Kai came to the Lonely Peak. He entered the cave and took down the things on the stone shelf one by one. Although he didn't dare to rush to refine these things, he also didn't want to leave them here. If used properly, every single thing here could be a great killing weapon. Now that he had collected enough yang liquid, it was time to leave the hidden island. Welcome to Immortal Cultivation Audiobooks, your gateway to the mystical world of Xianxia. Dive into legendary tales of martial arts, spiritual growth, and immortal ascension. Here, we bring you full-length English audiobooks of the best Wuxia and Xianxia stories, from young prodigies to ancient sect wars. Perfect for fans of Against the Gods, martial world, and tales of demons and gods.